Hello and welcome to a Wealthy Life podcast. This is another one of an unusual series where I'm speaking to some fabulous people I've had the privilege and the opportunity to meet in my life. And one of those people is the wonderful Yaa Antwi-Nsiah. We have known one another for 10 years, can't believe it. We met at an event and she was just this, I'm not going to, this is not derogatory, but she was just this young whippersnapper of a thing. Although she's always pretended that she's much older, I think she just looks like she's just this young teenager that comes out of it. And if you watch this on the video, you'll see what I mean. But actually, if you listen to her story, and I think I'm not going to tell you everything about her story, I'm going to let that emerge. I'm going to tease you again. But one thing you do need to know about Yaa is that she is determined. She is focused. She is clear on what she wants to achieve. She's taking steps in her life and I believe working hard to have the life that she wants to have, which is really what this is all about. It's about a wealthy life and what life do you want to live? And then how can I help you and what can you do yourself to achieve that life? But let me just give her her formal introduction. She is a meant for more mindset coach and mentor. And of course, we'll explain what that means and unpack that as we go through this conversation. Yaa, welcome.
Hi, Vicky.
Honestly, it's fabulous to see you. I love chatting with you anyway. And we'll explain how we talk so much as we go through. But we're going to start this conversation really with the essence of what you do in your business, which is about helping people understand their purpose and their passion. And of course, one of the other interviews that I've done is with Josh, where we were talking about how awareness is the key to success. And awareness is very important. So if you don't know yourself and know what you want, then everything else is just really you're trolling through life without a plan or a map or anything. Yeah. Now what we're talking about is purpose. So purpose is where you put in a destination. So if awareness is there is this map and I know where I am on the map, purpose is there is a map, I know where I am on it, and now I want to get to a certain place on the map. Yeah. Would you agree?
Yes, I do. I think so the three things that I like to focus on is purpose, passion, and potential, because I think that once you know what your purpose and passions are, you can fulfill your potential. And just thinking about my own journey, I was somebody who really didn't know what I wanted in life, but I felt really unfulfilled. And I always just knew that I wanted to help people, but I wasn't sure how to help people. And then I stumbled across coaching and I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And then my first port of call was to coach young people. And the reason why I did that, and I still do, but to a lesser extent now, was because I always used to think to myself, if I had this information when I was younger, it would have been so beneficial. So that was what I wanted to do first. But then what I realized was with young people is they're not necessarily always ready. And so then I thought, well, when did I discover it? And I was like, well, I discovered it as a woman in my late 20s, early 30s. And so I was like, let me just talk to other people and let me see other women and let me see. And it was a similar type of thing where they wanted more, but they just didn't know how to get them more. So because they didn't know how to get them more, I was like, okay, let me just go down that path and let me see if me helping them works. And it did. And so I ended up doing that as part of my role in TFL. So I worked for in the women's staff network team, and I would run these monthly events and they were called Time to Shine. And it was just so beneficial and actually so transformational. I had stories about people deciding to start their own businesses, stories about people who were dithering about whether or not to get married, finally made the decision to get married, to develop themselves more, I should say. And and then also change jobs. Like if they were ready to go to the next level but were unsure, it helped really give them that push. So that was how I ended up becoming a coach for women specifically, because I think as women, we are so busy helping everybody else, we forget about ourselves. And what I wanted to do was put the focus back on women, because I understood when you put your focus back on yourself, then you are in a better position to help everybody else.
Oh my gosh, totally. I absolutely agree. I mean, I agree with everything that you said, and I totally agree with that last sentence. You're right. I feel the same thing. If only I could help young people know what I know now exponentially. If I think about my journey, and then if I could only just move my journey back down the timeline, imagine what everybody else could achieve if I've got this far, you know, in the last 20 years. What if I'd started this when I was 20 rather than 40?
Yeah.
But equally, this idea that women are putting everybody else and they are the nurturers. And the very second episode that I recorded of this podcast was talking about that, the avatars. Men have this, I don't know, pressure to be the financial providers. And I say men, and I did explain that, you know, typically it's the male and typically it's the female that's the nurturer. But in every relationship, one has to bring in the resources and the other one allocates the resources to make sure that the rest of the family still lives, because the one focused on bringing in the resources can't then be focused on the other. Although if you're a single parent, you do have to do both. So it's really fascinating that you've literally come up with all the same things. And I suppose in some ways that's what makes people become friends, is because there is an alignment of those values and that purpose too. You know, how you can help others is very much what I want to do and what I want to do through this podcast. The one thing that you slipped in there was you slipped in the three little letters TFL. So just for anybody who doesn't know what that is, TFL is Transport for London, which is the organization that runs, you know, basically the underground and everything else that we have in London, our transport system. So that's who you work for. And ironically, who Bob works for. So it's all these small connections that we have. So look, here you are now in the present. So you slipped through probably, I don't know, that's maybe 10 or 15 years of your life in that introduction there. Let's wind it back a bit more and go, all right, let's look at that journey in a different way. When we met, you'd already got some level of awareness because you were at an event that I was at as well, where we were looking for a mentor that was going to shape our business journeys. So you were still working for Transport for London, and you still do now. And you were at that point where you knew that you wanted more. And so you went along to that event. What was going on just then for you?
So I knew I wanted a change, and I knew that I wanted to coach. And in terms of that, so to be really, really honest, because I want to be really honest with your listeners, is I think I went on that particular journey, not before I was supposed to, but just to gather the information and meet people there, because I met amazing you. But because I remember when I signed up for it, I was like, well, I don't have a business. Can I still come? And they're like, yeah, come along. And so I was like, oh, okay. And I signed up. And this is where it goes back to knowing what your purpose is, and also knowing what your passions are as well, and putting the two together. And because that's how you fulfill your potential. And so I was in a position where I was passionate, but I maybe really didn't know what my purpose was. And so therefore I wasn't able to fulfill my potential in the way I wanted to at that time. And so it was great for networking. It was great to meet people. But in terms of where I wanted to go at the time, because I wasn't as purposeful as I should have been, I didn't get as much. Like, I'm getting so much more out of it now. Like, I'm thinking about all the lessons that I learned now as I'm running my business, and it actually is just like oh wow, I remember that. Oh, that's why that. Oh, and and just connecting all the dots. And I even remember that was actually a phrase used in one of our sessions. And so from there, I just now know that I don't want to say it was before my time, because it was definitely something I needed along my journey, but if I'd been more purposeful at the time, I think I would have done so much more at the time with it. And then also being able to really, because one of the things they focused on was your audience and knowing what your audience was, and who your audience was, I should say. And at the time, I didn't realize that my audience actually wasn't young people. Like I said, it's now women. But even then, my client would have been young people. It would have been people that take care of young people, organizations that take care of young people. And so working with them was really different because then the young people became secondary clients. So whereas now I work directly with women, and that has helped in terms of the transformation and also being able to access those women. So I get to see their transformation, and also I get direct access to them as well. So there's no gatekeeper, if you will.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think that's one of the things I look at in my life is we have these interactions or moments. And sometimes I think you're right. You used the sentence, did it come too soon? I think sometimes, I'm probably going to get a bit weird and woo-woo now, but I believe that sometimes our passion can get so excited that it somehow draws things in from the future because it's ready and it's hungry and it pulls things in, and they appear now, and we're not quite ready. We're excitedly ready, but we're not planned ready. We've not got everything that we need lined up. But in that happening, what we actually then do is access some of the future resources that then open doors that might have been harder had we not accessed that. And I'm not saying this about me, but as an example, if you hadn't come on that and we hadn't sat at that first table together and we hadn't connected, and we used to go out for dinners once a month, didn't we? There was a lovely group of us. And if we hadn't all connected, you and I wouldn't have sort of become friends, and then we wouldn't have gone on to the next bit, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. That wouldn't have happened if you hadn't come. We would never have met. And then I wonder what difference that might have made for you. So maybe now at this point, talk about, well, you knew that I was there for property. I reversely, I went into that feeling very, very confident, very clear, bang, I was on it. And by the time I came out the other end, I'd almost gone back again and thought of, and I was almost then at the point where I wanted to review the business and take the business on to another level. So I sort of went in confident and then came out going, oh, I need to change all of this at the other end. But in that middle, we met and we started talking about property, because that was my voice and your voice was coaching young people. What made you think that property might be a good idea for you? Had you got any background in this?
So yes, that was funny. So there's two sides to it. So I've got a really good friend who whose parents have actually, I know, now that I think about it, I probably know quite a few people now. But at the time was a particular friend, and her parents had done really well in property, and they'd been investing probably since the 90s. And they just accumulated lots and lots of a big property portfolio. So I was like, oh, that's really interesting. How do I do that? And then conversely, I'd seen people who had wanted to get on the property ladder and kind of decided to do it, but didn't stick it out. And so they spoke really badly about property. And I was like, well, I want to be like Davina's mum and dad. I don't want to be like people that aren't. And then by chance at that time, I was looking to invest in my own property because I realized, I accessed the capital, and then I met you. And so I'm sure you didn't realize it at the time, but I was like sizing you up. I was like, oh, she's
Oh, I didn't realize you were sizing me up at all.
I was like, oh, like, because it's like ding. And then so I was just like, oh, and then I just got to know you. And anybody who knows you and has met you in person, Vicky, knows that you're a force. And so I was like, oh, I like her. So let me just see. And because I'd had also my own, I'd had bad experience in property too, where I tried to, and I'm going to be really, really clear here. There are no shortcuts in this. You must do it the proper way. And so I tried to circumvent the process and got burnt. I lost money. And so So because of that, that's probably why I was like sizing you up. Otherwise, I would probably be like, okay, we're going to dive right in. And then, so then from there, we had conversations. And then I remember one day we had a discovery conversation. We actually went to one of the places that the particular place actually that we used to go and have, go for our meals. And you talked me through the whole process. And I loved that because then I could then take that away and use that to access. It became also probably almost, well, it didn't become, it is a vehicle for me being able to do the things that I want to do and live the life that I want to live. And in terms of even the way that I even look at my job now, it's really shifted everything. So I will be honest, I'm in a position, I like the life that I live. So, and I want to maintain it, but I'm in a position where I don't have to work if I don't really want to. I'm not saying that it would be like I could maintain like a really good standard of living, but a good standard of living. But the reason why I haven't chosen to do that is because of the opportunities that I had in my role. And then also now starting my own business, anybody who knows who started their own business knows that it's a lot of work, and also requires a lot of investment of time and money. So because of that, it pays to have a job and have the properties as well. And so that's how I ended up in that's the story, like shortened, the abridged version. And that's why I chose to do it that way, because being in property has allowed me so many how do I put this? So just the ability to do different things that I probably wouldn't have had access to, and to learn as well, you know, how property works. So even in the process of property, I've worked with different agents, and some of them have been amazing, some of them haven't been so good, but it doesn't matter because that's the whole process. And I think that also goes back to the things that I talk about when I coach people, is about mindset. So Tony Robbins, who's someone that I followed a lot of his work, and he talks about going on until. So I remember there was, if I use this particular example, there was one of my properties, the agents, I didn't really like them. So the first agent, they were good in the beginning and then they got progressively worse. I remember calling you, Vicky, and then you saying, okay, try this agent. And then I tried that agent too. Again, in the beginning, wonderful. Then they got progressively worse. And then I was like, oh, Vicky, do you know someone else? And you're like, yes, try this agent. And I've been with that agent ever since for a good, I would say 4 or 5 years now, maybe a little bit less. But and what I've learned from that was going until. And I remember we had a conversation about this recently. And you were like, so what would you have done? And I was like, I would have gone on until I found an agent that worked for me, and we worked well together. And that to me is the most important thing. It's about knowing what it is that you want to achieve. And because once you know what you want to achieve, you have the compelling reason why. And because you have the compelling reason why, you will go on until. So in terms of property, it's knowing, okay, the reason why I'm choosing to invest in property is because of the lifestyle that I want to live. And because of that, there will be problems that come up because this is life. And it's about how I choose to deal with those problems. And I can look at it as, oh my gosh, not again. Or you can look at it as problems are gifts. They give you the opportunity to be able to solve them so that you know what to do for next time.
Definitely. And I think you're saying going on until, that's another P, isn't it? It's perseverance.
Yes.
And I think with all of this, if we start with purpose right at the beginning, that if you've got that destination that you want to get to, you need to persevere to get there, but you also need to enjoy the journey, which I think is your passion.
Yes.
Because it's very easy to get to the other end and look back, and you've been so focused on the future, and just doing it that you're not enjoying it. And I love the fact that, you know, in your conversation there, the role that property has played for you. And, you know, you're not a huge landlord, you know, you've got a very modest portfolio, but even with that modest portfolio, you're in a position to say that extra money that comes in that doesn't require a lot of your time. Yes, you had a couple of hiccups with the landlord, but then that's how we've always worked together, that whenever you want anything, and recently you messaged me again because you wanted some advice. That's what I do with my clients, is I'm always here to help you, because I've in a sense got a bigger view of the area because I've got more people and more properties in particular areas, so I can be a bit ahead of the game. But that thought that those properties that on the most part don't take a lot of your time enable you to feel more comfortable, you can then stay in the job that you've got because your mindset shifts in, I don't have to work at TfL for the money. I don't have to work there to pay the bills, which maybe a lot of your colleagues do. You work there because you enjoy the job, and you're in a job that is giving you opportunities to learn, to develop, but also to experience, to explore. So you've got that going on at work, and that shift in your mindset happens because you don't have to go there. You are going there because you choose. And I think that then makes you a different sort of employee that your employers will recognize and provide opportunities for. So it changes the energy between the employer and the employee. As long as you don't go to work and go to your boss like, well, I don't have to go to work because I've got so many properties, I don't need to be here. It's not that attitude. It's the attitude in your own head of all the stress goes. And so then you can focus on the things that you enjoy in your work. I have so many clients come to me and go, as an opening sentence, I want to give up work. And then when we've worked together, and please stay in work until we get the portfolio. It's so much easier when you're employed to get you a mortgage. And then we get them the portfolio and they come out the other end and they don't give up their jobs because the way they think about the job changes.
Yes, exactly. Because the job also becomes a vehicle to do the things that you want to do in life. And it's so funny that you should say that, because probably just before the pandemic, I was feeling a little bit low. And I know for a lot of people, the pandemic has been very hard. But for me, as hard as it was also very much a blessing, because it allowed me to reshift my thinking and my focus. So I used to be very much a person who used to be overwhelmed by all the things that I needed to do. And then during the pandemic, I was part of a study group, and we studied the book by Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. And so when you spoke earlier about, oh my God, you get overwhelmed by all the things that you need to do, and I was. And then I realized, well, all I have is now. So in this moment right now, what can I do? What can I achieve in this moment right now? And I'm just going to focus on that. So for example, I'll be honest with you today, I've got a very busy day. So I can be like, oh my gosh, I want to get this interview out of the way so then I can go and do whatever it is else that I need to do for the rest of the day. Or I can just be like, no, well, right here, right now, I'm enjoying this conversation with Vicky. I'm going to have this conversation with Vicky. And then when I'm done with this conversation, I'm going to do the next thing. And what I've realized is the difference when I talk to my colleagues. So when I speak to my colleagues now, a lot of the time they want to complain. And I always say, well, this thing or the next thing. And what that has done shifted my thinking. It's also shifted the way people speak to me. And then also shifted, like you said, what I bring in. Because now people then either correct themselves when they speak to me. Oh no, maybe it's because of this, or they won't bring up those issues with me. And what I've realized is that when you shift your thinking, and this is why I say this to everybody, change your mind, change your life. Like once you shift your mindset, everything shifts for you. But there has to be a willingness in you. And I know it's very scary for a lot of people because it means letting go of everything that you think you know. And realizing that, I don't really know anything at all. And the more I learn, the more I realize I know nothing at all. That's what the pandemic taught me, because before the pandemic, I thought I was in control. I needed to be in control, I should say. And after the pandemic, when I realized, okay, no, I'm not in control of anything really other than myself. Let me just focus on me and what I can do right now in this moment and do that, and then help myself and others to do the same. Continue to do the same.
I'm smiling here because that's just so funny listening to you say that a very important lesson there, that bit about now, just focus on the now. It's a one way to get rid of the stress, you know, to stop the overwhelm. There is so much going on in everybody's life, and then there is so much in the social media world or the media world that is implying that we need to be doing more and more and more, that there isn't the time to appreciate now. But then you went on and you were talking about how the more I learn, the more I realize I don't really know anything, which is just also exactly how I feel. And then the last thing you said was about control. Now, if anybody has listened to any of the other podcast episodes, you will know that practically every single episode, the word control comes up. And I was thinking, oh, it won't come up in this one because this is a conversation with Yaa. We won't be having it. And you brought the word up this time. Yeah. And I feel so like that. I feel that I need control, but I recognized, and I think you put it so well, that actually I can't control anything else. I can only control my little bubble here, my little world. So I can control the food that goes in my mouth. I can control the thoughts that go in my head. And I think that's really very empowering to know that you can decide how you want to think. And if you don't like the thoughts or the opinions that are being shared, then disconnect from those and focus on the thoughts and the opinions that you want to have in your own head. Now, that doesn't mean to say when I'm using the word opinion that it's only my opinion that counts. There are other opinions in the world, but if those opinions, in my view, or your view, or in our view, in my view, are negative and unhelpful opinions, and what I want to do is hold positive opinions and positive thoughts, then actually what happens is it's almost like a light comes on inside you and you radiate in a different way. And I've always said this about you. I feel like you know, from when we first met, I feel that you were one of the, I call people the shiny people, because there is something about some people I meet that they glow on the inside and you can see it and you can feel it in them. They are happy people. So ironically, even 10 years ago, when you hadn't done the Eckhart Tolle stuff about the power of now, and we'll put that link in the show notes. Yeah, you hadn't done that, but I think it was still part of you. It just maybe hadn't been brought to the surface because you still shone back then as you shine now. And I think it is something that when listeners, when you meet a shiny person, now I've told you about shiny people, when you meet a shiny person, you will know that you have met that person because they are positive, but in a truly authentic way. They are passionate about their things. I think actually all of the 4 people that I have interviewed in this little block here are shiny people. And you listen to them, they just energetically make you want to feel happier, or they don't make you want to feel happy, they make you feel happier, they make you feel calmer, they make you feel more purposeful. I suppose what I should have done, actually, I should have pressed pause. I pressed mute and then I just left a gap in the middle, didn't I? Numpty. I had another one of those helicopters go over. Right.
Oh, okay.
I'll just redo that bit. They make you feel happier and calmer and more purposeful just by being in their presence, which I think is really fascinating. And then if we just add to that, how can you be making people feel happier, calmer and more purposeful when, to summarize, you work full-time, you are a landlord and have to manage and keep an eye on your portfolio, you're running your own business, and I suppose somewhere in there you still have some fun and some social life around the outside of it. How you're fitting so much into your life is almost because you've combed everything out. You've got it all clear. You can see the role that everything in your life plays in your life and supports you on this journey that you're on, this move towards your ultimate purpose.
Yeah, definitely. And even today, like in terms of even like I said, I've got lots to do today, but I'm part of one of the things I'm actually going to do after this is going to have lunch with 2 friends, and that's part of it. And but it's a practice, is what I would definitely say. Is so in the morning when I get up, I will listen to motivational videos. I will pray and I journal. And and the reason why I do that is because it mentally prepares me for my day, because there is going to be so much stuff coming in, and some of it good, some of it not so good. Speaking to people, some of it good, some of it not so good. And because of that, I know that I need to, if I'm mentally prepared for it, then I'm okay to deal with it. So one of the things that I used to do before, I used to be very avoidant. So I would be like, like say, for example, in the workspace, I would go into work and be like, I don't want to deal with this person because they're negative, or I don't want to deal with that person because I don't want to take on their energy. And when she realizes, once it's a choice to take on their energy, but also two, it's I choose to be me in this environment. So I don't. So whether or not you choose to be you shouldn't have an effect on me, especially if it isn't positive. And so from there, what I've learned to do is walk into any space and accept what is in that space. And if I deal with people who aren't, let's just say, not as feeling so great that day, I'm like, okay, that's their choice not to feel that great today. I don't have to take that on. And so because of that, you become more accepting. And then the beauty of becoming more accepting is that you learn to accept more things in life. So where people may be scared to do certain things, so i.e. they want to go to their next level in their life, but they feel stuck, overwhelmed and afraid, they're able to make that shift because they realize, oh, this is just another problem. And once I get over this hurdle, yeah, there will be more, but this is just another problem to solve. And the reason why I know that anybody can do it is because invariably we've been doing it our whole lives and we're still here. So
Yes.
that that in itself is enough to let you know you are capable and you can and you should.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I love the fact that you brought up the habits that you carry out in the morning. I recorded episode 18 a little while ago called Are You a Creature of Habit? And that's exactly what I talked about, doing something in the morning that sets your mindset up. You mentioned that you pray, that you journal, that you listen to motivational things. It can also be yoga, it could be meditation. I suggested gratitude. So you lie there and you think of a minimum of 3 things that you're grateful for. And then how can you not move forward in the day with a more positive mindset if you've just recognized how blessed you are in this life? So whether you do it through religion or you do it outside of religion, you're setting your mind up for the day. And then the second thing you were talking about, when you meet people and how you choose to show up and how they are showing up. Some people are choosing to show up grumpy, and some people are just showing up grumpy because they haven't got that level of awareness to know that that's how they're showing up even. And my belief, and I think my sentence here might align with what you were saying there, is I believe everyone is doing the best that they can with the resources that they have at that moment in time. And so if I believe everyone's doing their best, however, when I observe their best, it looks a little grumpy to me, apart from the fact I'm obviously making a judgment about that, know that they're still giving it a good go, and that's all that they can come up with. So therefore I don't have to blame them, I don't have to criticize them, I just need to carry on being positive me. And then the door is always open. If someone wants help, the door's always open. I will help if I can. It's not that I am, and I don't think you think this, that we're so enlightened or we're so something superior. It's not that. It's just I have found a way that I can be happy, and you found a way that you can be happy. And coincidentally, for both of us, it's about our mindset. It's about our personal self-awareness. It's about both of us having our purpose. Both of us are grateful, and we are happy to help others on their journey if we can. And all of that makes us both happy. Well, maybe there is something to this thing then.
Yeah, and I would even go as far as to say, so I don't, so there, I would say there are 4 principles, 4 main principles. So some people call these values, and for me, it's peace, love, joy, and honesty. And then also I would add compassion to that. And the reason why I'd add compassion is because when we are compassionate to ourselves, you can be more compassionate to others. So just like you were saying, so before, I wouldn't understand that somebody was doing the best that they can. So I would make a judgment call and be like, well, this person's this, and this, and this. I make up stories about that person. That's another thing, making up stories. And then once I actually realized the reason why I was judging that person so harshly is because I judged myself so harshly. And I learned to shift that, going back to the mindset thing, I learned to shift that. Once I was able to shift that, then I could be more compassionate. You can be more compassionate to the manager who's always grumpy. You can be more compassionate to the person who doesn't want to talk to anybody or seems standoffish. You can be more compassionate to the person who's always loud because you are more compassionate to yourself, and you realize it's not about you. They're doing the best that they can, and just the same way I'm doing the best that I can. So that's where you get to be loving and kind, and from there you find your peace and your joy. And that's why I'd say joy over happiness. The reason why is because happiness, and I know this is just semantics, but happiness for me was very short-lived. So you end up, I'd be on a roller coaster. So I'd be like this with emotion. So anybody who can't see this, I'm literally making my hands go up and down like a roller coaster when I was quote unquote happy. But with joy, it's just like this like loving, peaceful feeling that I feel just throughout the day. And it's in little things. It's in seeing my niece and my nephews smile at me. It's speaking to my brother. So my brother sent me I don't even know why I want to cry now, but my brother sent me a really lovely message on Instagram yesterday. It was like a reel of somebody who was praying over me, and I was just like, oh, thank you so much for that. And we didn't speak, but because I could recognize the joy in it and the love in it, it just brightened up my day. And yesterday again was a busy day, but I was able to really appreciate those things. And once you start showing compassion to yourself, you're able to really pursue your passion and your purpose because you're loving yourself first. And I think that's so essential to anybody, to be able to give that to yourself first. Fill your cup up, and then let everything else be, the overflow be for everybody else. But fill your cup up and don't be afraid to do that, because you then become a light. Because I don't think that, because I think you're a light too, Vicky, and I think that everybody is. I really and truly I do, but I just think that some people have chosen not to shine because
they've got a lampshade on first.
Yeah, exactly.
Take your
Exactly.
lampshade off.
Yeah, and that's why I guess they would come to people like me and you, because they don't necessarily know how all the time. So it's being able to give them the opportunity to be able to do that. And because because you imagine if everybody went around and lived in their purpose. I always think about this, like, and this may sound weird to people, but I'm just like, if everybody went around and lived in their purpose, oh my gosh, this world would be so amazing. And so that's why I do what I do, because I just want people to be their best, because I understand what being their best means. It doesn't mean that you just get to live a better life, especially if you're a woman, because like I said, we tend to think about others a lot more, is that we all get to live a better life. We all get to, what's that phrase that I really, really like? A rising tide raises all ships. So all of us get to go to our next level, which I think is amazing.
Yeah. I love that last piece there. It just, maybe that's a great place to end, although I want to carry on and pick up more bits, maybe we'll have to come back and have this conversation again. I just think all of this ties so neatly in with this idea that we are all meant for more, and the mindset that goes with this, and that, that's the name of your podcast. I don't know if we've mentioned that you've got a podcast as well, and we'll put the links in there. So if you have loved listening to Yaa as much as I have, then she's got her old podcast that you can listen to more of what she has to say. And I just feel that there is this real resonance here, isn't there? That if you, and it feels almost counterintuitive, particularly again to women and maybe to some men, to put yourself first. And you've got rising tide lifts all ships, and I've got when you're in a plane, you put your own oxygen mask on first, and then you can help the 6 people around you. If you don't put your oxygen mask on, you can maybe help 1 or 2, but then you run out of oxygen and the other 4 don't get the help. So you have to do that, and it feels a little counterintuitive, and I'm sure if we thought about it, we can work out where in history we've been told this, because I don't feel that is nature's way. If you look at the animals will feed themselves and make homes for themselves first before they then turn around to others, even in communities. So yes, meant for more. We're all meant for more. The first step is understanding your mindset, and then the second step is how you are going to take those steps. And I think you absolutely emulate that. You've worked to get the mindset that you've got. You've become aware of your thoughts. You've looked at the thoughts that are supportive. You've worked on the thoughts that are less supportive. You said being more compassionate and kind to yourself has enabled you to then sit in this place, and your word is joy. For me it's still the word is happiness. It's the same, as you say, it's semantics. Whatever the word is, a positive feeling place with a positive mindset place, and then that enables you not to judge other people. So then we're making other people's lives better by then not loading judgment on them, because the last thing, if you're having a bad day, is someone else judging you. So then we take that off of somebody else. We're already helping them. And then out of that, by working still through in London Underground, you're helping all the women and the other people that you help there. You've got the properties, so you're helping all your tenants. And then through all of that, now you're in a position where you've got your business and your podcast, and you're helping so many more people there. I can't believe and I'm still going to refer to you as that young girl, because I mean, you are younger than me, but you've just got this young energy about you, that this young person that I met 10 years ago has traveled so far in really what is a very short space of time to be, well, and you always were. The seed of you being this wonderful person was there when I very first met you. And as you say, you were maybe looking at not quite the best fit of audience, and now that you're working with women, you've absolutely blossomed. You are a true inspiration. I love you to bits. Another one of my wonderful shiny friends. I'm honored to know you, Yaa. I really am. And thank you so much for giving up your time to be on the podcast and share your thoughts with listeners.
Oh, I absolutely loved it, and I'm more than happy to come back whenever. Look, I use the word happy too. I'm more than happy to come back if you should ever you want me.
Yes,
I would love to. Yeah, just thank you so much, Vicky. As I always say, like, you're just an amazing human being to me. You are, and I just love your honesty and the way you just want to love and help other people. I just think it's amazing. So keep being you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to make sure that the editors leave that bit in at the end.
Oh.
Thank you. So listen, I hope that you have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, found the thoughts that Yaa and I have shared intriguing, inspiring, maybe even influence you to sort of do some self-thinking about your mindset, and of course, above all, added a little bit more whoosh to your life. Thank you very much, and I will see you on the next episode.
Oh, I did. Yes, and if you want to find out more about me, so you can, the best way to connect with me is on Instagram.
So stop that bit, and what we'll do is we'll stick it in. We'll record this a bit better.
Okay.
So I was going to just stick all the notes in the back end. Yes. So let's record that bit. And so before I say goodbye, Yaa, how can we find out more details of you? We'll stick them all in the show notes for you anyway.
So the best place to connect with me would be on Instagram, and that's Next Level Coaching Group on Instagram. And I also have a free guide that you can download, and that is at nextlevelgroup.com/get started. And like Vicky said, that will be in the show notes.
We'll put that link in the show. Thank you, Yaa.
Oh, thank you, Vicky. Thank you so much again for being you.
Thank you. Right, so editors, you might have seen, if you can just take that end bit and stick that before I do, I don't know, you find somewhere to stick that a bit earlier for me, please. Thank you very much. Let me just press pause.